Hi, this is Simon. This is where I left you last time. We labelled the wood lathe, and today I would like to show you what we can do on the wood lathe. So, my aims are to show you how to prepare your wood for the wood lathe, how to set up the wood lathe to turn the wood, and also how to then turn your wood in place. So we want to be able to do these three items. So the product I've got today for you is the mortar and pestle. And I've chosen these two because they actually show the different methods that you can use when you're using the wood lathe. So I would start with finding a piece of wood which is longer than the piece that I particularly want to make, and also wider than the final diameter that I want to use, because this is actually, a wasting method. So we're going to cut away a lot of this material, this wood, to produce our shape. And so we'd find a nice block like this, and let me just finish that off there. And what we're looking for is the wood grain going in this direction along the length of the product. And I would also select a nice hard material, particularly for this pestle, because it's going to do the grinding of the herbs and it needs to last long. So something like beech would be a useful wood to use there. It's a hard wood and it will take all the pounding and grinding that you need. But also, if I was doing this for the first time and using the lathe for the first time, I would select something like pine, which is a softer wood and easier to work with. At the top here, we would have our end grain, and this is where we're going to start by marking this surface out. So to mark this out, let's get a nice big square piece of material there. And we need to find the center of this piece of material. Now, what's the best way to find the center? Yeah, that's it. If we join the corners up like so, then we're going to find the center of the piece of wood. And now the next step would be to mark on a circle here as large as you can. We're not going to get this perfectly set up exactly in the center of the machine, so we need a little bit of leeway. So we start with the largest drawing of the circle that we can, not the diameter that you particularly need. So step one would be to find the center of your piece of wood by doing that. Step two would be to draw a circle with a compass. And if I was writing this down in detail, the center, I need to mark on here that I would use a rule, a steel rule, and a pencil. Okay. So that's step two, and let's just tidy that up there. So if you can imagine, this piece of wood is going to be turning around very fast on the lathe. We've got these corners here which are going to really come down. We're going to have a tool here, and these corners are really going to come down hard and thump that turning tool that we've got. So what we're best off doing is making our life a lot more easier and taking off these corners like so. Now, to do that, you could use a plane. So there's a plane. Let's just take that off. And step three, you could plane off the corners. And to do that, I would set that up in a bench vise like this. So this is a bench vise. And I would start to plane the top edge here like this and work my way down. And then I would have to rotate my piece and then plane these corners off as well. And you can see that by going down here, planing, you can get then your octagonal shape. So let's label this plane, and that is step three. Now these markings will be on both ends of the wood. We'll put them on both sides if I didn't mention that. And what we're going to use now is a tenon saw to cut a nice groove along these markings here, just on one end of our piece of wood. So along there we can mark and cut this nice little slot, and that is going to enable us to fit the next tool, which is the forked centre. Let's do some labelling here. So we need a tenon saw on step 4, preparing the slots ready for the forked centre. There we go, fork centre. At the other end of the lathe, we're going to place this, which is the dead centre. Now you can get live centres as well, which spin around with the wood, but this one is a dead one and it just stays stationary in the tailstock. So what we have now is a octagonal piece of wood like this that we've planed up, and on the one surface we have got the lines going across here, which we've cut with a tenon saw. And if I just make that 3D, you probably see that then going down the length there in this oblique drawing here of the piece of wood. And now that's ready to set up in the lathe. So that's our material now prepared and ready to go. Let's move down our sheet here and have a look at the setup. Let's have a quick look around this diagram that I've got here. This is a plan view of the lathe. So I've got the headstock and the spindle up at this end. I've got the quill and the tailstock on this side, and I've got the tool rest here in between. I've not drawn the bed of the lathe because it will just complicate things. So I fit in the fork centre. It goes down here in the spindle where the headstock is. And remember that underneath this we've got a motor and pulley which are going to rotate this spindle around. So this is going to provide the drive into the piece of wood, and that's why we need this spiked item here, so that we place it into our wood nice and deep and it will drive that piece of wood around. So I'm ready now to place my piece of wood into the fork centre. So I take the slotted end that I cut with a tenon saw and I hit it on with a mallet to get it nice and deep in the wood. And then I slide up the quill and tailstock and I'll lock them in position when they're nice and deep in the wood there as well. So it would now look like this. So the piece of wood now is between two centres. This is where we get the name for this process of turning between the two centres, between the fork centre and the dead centre. So when we set the lathe on now, the rotation will be this way, and that's because we're going to put our tools here on the tool rest, and the wood has to come down on top of the tool to enable it to cut. So let's introduce you now to some of the turning tools. So the first one we would start to use is called the gouge. And the gouge is a general purpose tool, and we run it up and down the tool rest here and we get the cylinder formed, because we still got these little edges to knock off, like here, to get a nice smooth cylindrical shape. So we use the gouge first, and I want you to note here that the gouge has sort of a U-shaped cross section, and that is a very distinctive shape that it has. The next tool that we could use is the scraper. Okay, 1P in scraper, the scraper tool, and again the profile of this is slightly different. It is rounded off like so. And this is again very good for creating the shape that we want to start to get here. So we're looking now at the pestle shape, and I'd be aiming for perhaps turning it into the wood something like this. And I can do this by putting the scraper in here and starting to slide it up and down, and then going deeper and deeper until I get around the shape that I require. And I could also do the same on the end here and on the end here, just to get that shape forming. I would then take the skew tool, and this is going to now get us the nice final profile finish that we require. And the skew tool has a slightly different end. I'm going to show you that in a plan view. It's like this, and you can get them pointed to the left or to the right, but this will give you the fine detail that you require. So if I was going in here now with this tool, I'm now forming the shape that I require with the skew tool, like so. And of course I've got to leave a little bit of wood on the end because I don't want this piece dropping off until I finished it. Right, then to finish off, I'm going to use this tool here, which is called the parting tool. And have a look at the end of this one, it's got a V shape. And the parting tool will then be able to really reduce the wood that I have left on the machine here. So I would be coming in here with the parting tool, and that would reduce and reduce and reduce until I've nearly broken the piece off the lathe. And I want the parting tool not to touch either the fork center or the dead center. So these are the turning tools, and I want you to note that they've got really big handles. These are quite long and enable you to tuck that into the side of your waist so that you've got a really good grip of the tool while you are turning. So let's just tidy this up now. We were at step 4 of the tenon saw. We then need to go to step 5 of setting up the machine. So setting up with the fork center and dead center, and then we're then into 6, which is shaping the product that you want. Do it in this order of tools, from the gouge to the scraper to the skew tool to the parting tool. And then one thing you need to understand is that as I'm cutting here, because this is rotating round, all of this material is getting cut off at the same time. Let's just tidy up that spelling mistake there, and now you can see that we have finished our job and we have got our pestle made by the method of turning between centres.